Welcome back to Kick and Crochet. In this video I'm going to show you how to do a stitch that is sometimes called the lover's knot and sometimes called Solomon's knot. And there are actually a few variations on how to do this stitch. So I'm going to do today starting by working into a chain, but you can start by working into a row of lover's knots. Kind of like if you're working jasmine stitch, you would make a row of jasmine stitch puffs, like a puff chain, and then work into it. So I'm just going to start with a chain, and depending on how tall your stitches are, you might need to adjust the size of this chain. I'm going to do a multiple of 4 stitches plus 2. I'm obviously making just a tiny sample so that this video isn't so long. Alright, so now I'm going to single crochet into the second chain from the hook. And now I'm going to make my first lover's knot. So a lover's knot is basically a modified single crochet. So you're going to pull up a loop, and depending on your pattern, it might be a smaller loop or a big loop, and that will change how the lover's knot looks. I'm just going to do kind of a medium loop here. Yarn over, pull through that loop, and now I'm going to insert my hook into the back loop of that stitch. Yarn over, pull through that back loop. And now I'll finish this stitch by doing a yarn over and pulling through both loops. Now I need to make a second one of these, so I'll pull up a loop again, yarn over, pull through one, insert my hook in the back loop, maybe, yarn over and pull through, and now yarn over and pull through both loops. So now I've done 2 lover's knots, or a pair of lover's knots. You might see it called a set, or a pair, or a group, or whatever. Okay, so if I was doing this starting with lover's knots, I would just make a big row of these, and that would work as my base chain. But I'm going to work into this chain here. So now I'm going to skip 3 stitches, 1, 2, 3, and do a single crochet into the next chain. And now I'm going to do the same thing. I'll make 2 lover's knots. So yarn over, pull through, insert hook in the back bump, yarn over and pull through 1, and yarn over and pull through 2. And do that again. So pull up a loop, yarn over and pull through, insert your hook in the back bump, yarn over, pull through 1, yarn over, pull through 2. So now you should have 2 loops. We'll go back to our chain, skip 3, 1, 2, 3, insert your hook and do a single crochet in the next chain. Now we'll do it one more time to get to the end of the row. Pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through, insert your hook in that back bump, yarn over, pull through 1, yarn over, pull through 2, and then 1 more lover's knot, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through, insert in the back bump. And to get the back bump, I find it easiest to come way down by the start of the stitch where it's more separate, to insert my hook to get into that back bump. Yarn over and pull through, yarn over and pull through 2. So now I have 2 lover's knots again. I'll go back to my chain, skip 3 stitches, and do a single crochet in the last chain. So this is my first row for my lover's knot swatch. So you've got these groups of 2 lover's knots separated by single crochets. Now I'm going to do a chain 4 and 1 lover's knot. To make a lover's knot fabric, it's going to be a 2-row repeat. So this is row 2 and then row 3, and you'll just repeat rows 2 and 3 over and over. Okay, so now we'll turn it. And you're never going to work into the lover's knots themselves. You're going to work into the single crochets, or the tops. I guess it is the top of the lover's knot. I think of it as a single crochet between them. But so where these 2 meet, you've got this at the very top. So I'm going to do a single crochet into the top of that stitch. Notice I only did the one lover's knot on this side. You could choose to do this turn chain as a separate lover's knot instead, but I like the turn chain because on the other side of this row I'm going to do a triple crochet to end the row, and so it matches better. Okay, so now that we've got that setup started, we're going to go back to doing 2 lover's knots. Back bump. And when you're first learning this stitch, it's really easy to accidentally do too many or too few, so give yourself some grace and just practice a little bit. So now again, I worked into the top between the 2 lover's knots on the previous row. So one more set of 2 lover's knots. And then I'll do a single crochet. Oops, I'm looking at the wrong side. There we go. Single crochet right here where the 2 lover's knots meet at the top. Okay, now to finish this row, I'm going to do a single lover's knot. And now I'm going to triple crochet in that starting stitch. Alright, so that's the end of round 2, and you can see that these lover's knots were making X's. Right, so this is the first sets of 2 that we made, and then the second sets of 2 meet at the top of the previous set, so we make these, you can consider them diamonds or X's. That's the shape we're making. Okay, so row 3, we're going to chain 1 and turn, and now we're going to start with a single crochet in the first stitch. And now we're going to be back to making 2 lover's knots. So we're going to work again, always into the top, between the set of 2, in the middle of the set of 2 lover's knots that we made on the row below. So I'm making a set of 2 lover's knots. And now I'll make a single crochet into the top here. Now another 2 lover's knots. And then this is the last join. You can see I had my turn chain here, so I'm going to work into the top of that turn chain. And now if we want to finish this square, obviously it's not a square because I just made a very small sample here, we have to end on row 2. So I just did row 3, and now if I wanted to keep making this fabric, I would just repeat rows 2 and 3 over and over and over again until I got to whatever length I wanted. But if I want to stop, I have to do row 2 one more time, and then we can create our border, our finishing chain row. So row 2 is a chain 4, and a single lover's knot. I like to do this before I turn because otherwise the lover's knot gets kind of twisted and it's a little harder to see. So I'll make the lover's knot and then turn. Now we're going to join with a single crochet in the top between these 2 lover's knots in that set, always working into the top. And now we're just back to 2 lover's knots. So there's only variation in the very beginning and ending of the rows for rows 2 and 2 versus 3. The middle of the fabric is worked exactly the same way, so it's actually pretty easy once you get going. And while you're just getting started, I find it really helpful to put stitch markers in the starting stitches of the row so you don't get confused about where you're going to join to. Like, actually, I just joined to the wrong place because I was talking instead of thinking. Okay, so I just actually accidentally joined over here, but I need to join over here. Now another set of 2 lover's knots. And now this is going to be the end of the row, so I need a single lover's knot and then a triple crochet in the first stitch here. Alright, so that is the end of row 2. So you can see we're making these X's. They look pretty cool. X's, diamonds, however you want to think about them. To finish this row, we're going to do a chain 1 and turn. We'll do a single crochet in the first stitch. And now I'm going to do a chain 3 pretty loosely. I don't want it to be tight. And now I'll do a single crochet in the top there, just the same place where I would join my lover's knots. Now I'll chain 3 again, because if you remember the first row, we skipped 3 stitches when we started making our lover's knots. So we're just doing a chain 3 and then joining to the top of each diamond. So chain 3 and then to the top of the turn chain. And we have a square of lover's knots. So this makes really fun shawls or market bags or what have you. So little diamonds and X's, and that is how you do Solomon's knot or lover's knot. I've got a project actually that uses this stitch. So this shawl uses a combination of lover's knot and double crochet. And so you can see this fabric here. It's very stretchy because it's so lacy, and it's just, they almost remind me more of like honeycomb shapes than diamonds or crosses. Diamonds are pluses, but you can see. And if you were doing this pattern, I actually did the start a little bit differently because I wanted the Solomon's knot section to be wider than the double crochet section, but that's cool. So this is Solomon's knot, lover's knot, and now you know how to do it. Happy crocheting!